Hi there, it's Kevin. Should I say formerly known as the Rogue Deck Builder? Because I rarely ever post on this channel anymore or do any sort of deck techs or videos for Magic the Gathering. And I wanted to start a new video series called Throwback Thursdays. Hopefully I can stay consistent on it because there are a lot of good nostalgic memories that I have on this channel and even predating this channel with Magic the Gathering. And I think I'm going through my little midlife crisis here, or like I don't know, post-relevancy crisis. I guess when you've moved on so much from a hobby and then you look back at it, you kind of look back at both rose-colored goggles of the good times that it had in my life, as well as a little bit of sadness of how things have moved on. And has Magic moved on for me, or have I moved on for Magic, or kind of a combination of the two? So if you don't know, I got invited to go to the Magic Summit in Salt Lake City, which Salt Lake City is basically my home away from home. I lived there for 10 years. A lot of my, I guess I owe everything to the Rogue Deck Builder channel to Salt Lake City, because it was the group of people that I met there in Salt Lake that I started to get more competitive with Magic the Gathering and actually start to go to events. And at an event is where I came up with the term Rogue Deck Builder after an opponent of mine got super salty that I beat him with the Rogue Deck and kind of insulted me for using a rogue deck, and I just thought that it was a catchy phrase and decided I wanted to make YouTube channels because I was a huge fan of Husky Starcraft at the time, and he made some cool YouTube videos, so I thought I'd make some YouTube videos too. And yeah, I guess it was all history from then with at least the Rogue Deck Builder. But as you can tell, I've really moved on from Magic. I rarely ever play anything but Limited. I kind of like to say that I take the Jamie Stagmeyer route. If you don't know who Jamie Stagmeyer is, he's a very famous board game creator. Does all the Stonemaier games, or at least helps work on them. And he still has a huge love for Magic the Gathering, but he has to take it in doses. And so what he does is he plays in a pre-release and a draft and then wipes his hand clean of that set and waits till the next one. And I've stated in other videos, I think that's actually quite a bit nowadays with the amount of releases from Magic the Gathering. It's been so hard to keep up with. And it's when they've just really pushed more and more cards and products and stuff. It became to a point that it just was no longer as fun to keep up with as it used to be. But now that I've been invited, like, this is a weird discussion I had with the people at Magic Summit. The main reason why I'm going to the Magic Summit is they really wanted someone to represent Utah, and I guess I was the best they could find. And I am a has-been. I know I'm a has-been. I haven't done anything I definitely switched from creating content to doing more of the business side of things, with starting a local game store and cultivating an online presence where I actually sell product rather than more of a content creator, which I used to be. And I really am like this. I don't know, this past year, I've done other videos on this, has really hit me hard with where I have been and where I'm going. And it's bittersweet. I'm glad that I've positioned myself in life in a better position. This is much better than, the money's much better than it was when I was a content creator, and the opportunities are much better. But I honestly do miss brewing decks. I miss being involved with the community. I think my last Market Monday video too kind of hit a nerve, where I was talking about how I just think there's better people out there now brewing decks than me. But there's people that have more of a love for the game than I do. And I don't know, maybe it's just my age and my developed brain doesn't like to do the creative process as much as when I was younger. But it's just not as things just don't fire like they used to either. I don't know, as when you get older, you'll kind of understand. That's why your music tastes and just tastes and everything kind of stay stagnant. And I just noticed that Magic is harder to really get excited about brewing new decks, and it's actually a lot more difficult. It doesn't come as naturally. So that's another discussion with my gray hairs for another day with that. But I don't know, I'm just kind of in a nostalgic mood of, especially with this Magic the Gathering Summit invite, of really looking back at what got me here, and maybe I can find the magic again in Magic the Gathering and go back to my roots. And so that's what the point of these Throwback Thursdays are. So if you are going to the Magic Summit, please come and say hi. It'd mean the world to me. I know I still have some people out there that enjoyed my content and would like to see, future content in the future. And again, I'm trying to position myself where the main thing is just motivation. Like, I have the time, I have the ability. What I'm missing is just the drive. Sometimes it's like chewing nails. Like, it's weird. I used to make sure that I played in pre-releases and drafts and stuff. But now if it's like, oh, we have an odd number, okay, I'll just not draft because I don't want someone to have a buy, or I won't play in this pre-release. But now looking back, it is yeah, this whole Magic Summit invite has kind of hit. Like I said, it's bittersweet. It's kind of led me to really kind of lust for those days of where I was always thinking about Magic, always creating, always like every draft, everything is like, oh, this new card, I'd want to build around it. And now it's like same thing when I'm going to Magic Summit. Is anyone going to recognize me there? It's been so long since I've done anything with this name, with brewing, and yeah, it's just anyway. I'm really rambling on that sort of topic. So back to the Throwback Thursdays. I'm going to give a memory every Thursday of what I enjoyed about Magic, what got me into Magic, and what were some of the kind of the silver linings, some of my favorite moments in Magic the Gathering. So I hope you like these story times, and we're going to continue to do them. So I have committed Thursdays to give you a throwback until I can get back in the mood to actually creating new content. And yeah, it's just I was actually going back through some of my old videos too, and I had some good like teaser videos, and we had some good times on this channel, and it's just sad. Again, it really is just sad that I let it go. Anyway, enough of that. That crybaying. So, Throwback Thursdays. This is my memory that I chose because I was opening up some packs of Wildsville Drain, and this sucker was in there, Oversold Cemetery, and oh man, did this hit a nostalgic nerve. Because this is probably my favorite card ever printed. It's between this and something like Waste Not or, what is the... Now I can't even think of it. Marionette Master. Marionette Master is another one of my favorite cards. You can see I like to play black because black seems to be the most synergistic color, and I'm a huge synergy player. But Oversold Cemetery really is the card that got me brewing in Magic the Gathering and trying to attack the meta different than other people. And this was my first success that I ever had with a card on the MTGO. And I actually I made a Pro Tour. I don't know if people know much about me, but I did make a Pro Tour, so I'm good enough to play in a Pro Tour. I'm good enough to, win PTQs. I've top 8'd a PTQ. I've won a PTQ, and I've done pretty successful at higher skill events. So I would say my power skill is up there, and at one point I did have a very high rating on MTGO when I took it seriously. And this was the time during Onslaught and Mirrodin, I think, is when I really got into... I think my brother was leaving to college or just got back from college, or I just got back from college. I can't remember the time period of this, but I remember it like Magic was something that me and my brother bonded with. We actually do get along, me and my older brother. We have a lot in common, but it was Magic. Let me give you, now we're really going to go into story time, and then we'll go into some cultural things that people might not know about where I'm at and where Magic like filled this pivotal role in my life. So I grew up in a very small town. I'm back in that small town. It's called Richfield, Utah. It's got a population of about 8,000, and we have about 30,000 people in what we call the economic zone. So in about a radius of 30,000 people and about 100 miles in any direction, we are the biggest city. So we do have more amenities than I would say a town of 8,000 should have, because we do have those populations coming in. But we never did have a consistent local game store. We had a little comic book shop that sold Magic for a second there, and we had a hobby shop that sold it. And then we actually remember Kmart's. Kmart's would sell packs of Magic the Gathering too. But the only time I'd ever get to experience a local game store is if I went up north to like Provo or Ogden or Orem or Salt Lake City. One of those would have one. And typically if I was at my grandparents' house, I would try to go hit the local game stores and whatnot. But we didn't ever have a store here, so I primarily played in the lunchroom at school, and I played Magic the Gathering online, and me and my brother shared an account, and we pumped a ton of money into Magic Online at that point. And then we would sit there and brew on Sundays and try to figure out ways to attack the meta. And we both had a lot of fun. It's kind of a way for us to bond. So going back to kind of the cultural thing of where Magic was, is I grew up in a pretty strict Mormon family, an LDS family, where it was, my parents did not like us doing anything on Sunday. So we were supposed to spend time with family and rest on Sunday. And so I know my friends like to play street hockey, and I'd sit there out the window like just with the saddest face watching because they'd play. We had this nice paved road in front of my house. Is we're on a cul-de-sac, one of the only cul-de-sacs in my neighborhood, and it was recently paved, so it was perfect to play street hockey. And I remember everyone would get out and play street hockey on Sunday, and my parents wouldn't let me. But they would go, and we weren't allowed to watch TV either or play video games. But so they would go to bed. They would go take a nap at like 4 or 5 in the afternoon. And so me and my brother would sneak in his room and play Magic cards because it was something that didn't cause any ruckus. Like if you turn on the TV, we'd get yelled at, "Turn the TV off, you're breaking the Sabbath," and whatnot. And so we'd play Magic and just brew and sit there and brew. And I remember that, like, same thing with MTGO, we would, we didn't have money at that time. So every card purchased was something we'd really have to, think about and play around and whatnot. Actually, I still like MTGO for that reason, because brew cards are less expensive than MTG Arena, but that's another another discussion for another day. But Oversold Cemetery was this was a very cancerous time in Magic the Gathering, where like Arcbound Ravager decks and some of these artifact decks were just absolutely broken, down to the time of Mirrodin and Onslaught. We came up with this deck, and it really oversold me, pun intended, on synergistic decks. And it's kind of sad where this card has been so power creeped out of existence that I actually got this in pre-release, and it didn't even seem that powerful of a card, even with a lot of self-mill strategies and a lot of ways to get into things in the graveyard. But this card was just bonkers good for a 2-drop, basically card advantage when card advantage matters. And it's kind of sad to see how far Magic the Gathering has I don't know, in my opinion, fallen, where the power creep has pushed out a lot of ability to have these high intensive skill games where it's back and forth and you really need to play your resources correctly. And has also pushed out cards like this that used to really capitalize on resource management. I don't think it's as bad during the Throne of Eldraine days, with the really busted, like the Fires of Invention type decks that just win the game, or Wilderness Reclamation decks that untap win the game. So we're not in that era. I think that Standard's in a better shape, but definitely not Modern, and definitely not Pioneer, and some of these, and definitely not Commander. Like, this is a card that used to see a lot of playing Commander for many, many years, and has just got power creeped into the ground. And it's kind of sad because, especially too after I did a box opening on the Gone Rogue Games channel for Doctor Who, and I was reading some of the cards for Doctor Who, and they're all just wall of text cards with so many synergies. Like, if they were to print this in this day and age, this card would probably have something like when Oversold Cemetery enters the battlefield, draw a card, or mill 4 cards. It would definitely have to have some sort of addition to this, kind of vanilla text card right here of at the beginning of your upkeep. If you have 4 more creature cards in your graveyard, you can return a creature card from your graveyard hand. Like, it takes an entire turn to start getting value. You only get 1 per turn. Yes, these do stack when you get Oversold Cemetery, but man, oh man, did the simplicity of this type of card design, did it lead to some really fun games. And so Oversold Cemetery was a deck, and it was kind of mainstream. It was tier 2, tier 3-ish, but it was me and my brother would sit down and try to find the perfect 60 for this card, and we came up with some pretty fun decks here. I remember off the top of my head, it kind of looked like this. I don't know if you can see this, but it was a Death Cloud deck. So Death Cloud red that is X and 3 black, as each player loses X life, discards X cards, sacrifices X creatures, and sacrifice X lands. So it did not get rid of enchantment. So Oversold Cemetery would eventually start to get you the value back. And typically this deck had like mana dorks in it, or ways to creatures that ramped out land. I think it was like Solemn Simulacrum that existed at the time period. And then it was pretty good at like playing the mid-range deck with like Ravenous Baloth, was just a 4/4. And he was this still with damage on the stack? I think this might be the time period with damage on the stack. So Ravenous Baloth could block and then sack itself and gain 4 life, and you could do a lot of shenanigans. And there's also a time period with Eternal Witness. And so this Death Cloud deck was insanely grindy, where your Oversold Cemeteries were key, that you would just control the board until the Oversold Cemeteries come online to then outgrind your opponent. I believe for a moment there, Skull Clamp was legal. Skull Clamp was one of the fastest cards ever banned, but it was really fun with Mana Dorks, and because I think Birds of Paradise and Land of War Elves existed at this time period too. And so Skull Clamp was a really, Wireward Herald, if I remember correctly too, was a card. And then you had also things like Collar of the Claw, which were kind of fun, because if you paired it like Phyrexian Plague Lord, you could sacrifice all of your stuff and then do a Collar of the Claw, and you get a bunch of 2/2 bears, and then it was flash too, so then in turn you could do a bunch of like combat tricks. And it was just a really, really fun time in Magic the Gathering. And this is what always drew me to Magic the Gathering, was these synergistic cards. It's also another reason why I don't think that Lorcana has anything on Magic the Gathering with. I understand that Lorcana has a long ways to go. It's one set. They're going to find a lot of synergies, but having the stack is so much. Like, a stack is crazy compared to Lorcana's, like, things just happen. And having this combat tricks, bluffing, stacks, playing things on your opponent's turn, and these cards, every card adds this, like, new game piece that affects other things. And the combinations are so infinite. And it's, again, I don't know, like, I really, really am sad for everyone that's entered Magic in this past few years with this power creep, because they don't really get to see this time period where there was like really bad cards that you had to actually make use of. I remember back in my day when we had like a 2/1 with the drawback for 1 red mana. What was it? The Pup every time it took damage, you took damage as well. But it was just like those type of cards were actually, it was only 2 1-for-1, and so it was, I mean, in red, it was perfectly synergistic with like an aggro strategy. And there'd be all these like metas that would these rock paper scissors metas that would come up, and then you'd find a tier deck, a deck that would work for 1 week, and like there wasn't what I like to call auto include cards as much. I mean, there's of course was like there were staples for sure, but now it seems like every set they just push these cards. Like Shieldred is the biggest culprit of this type of stuff. It's like they wanted this card to be played and seen like crazy, and so they just made sure they had the best stats, the best abilities, the best everything, that it was the clear winner. And whereas this time period it wasn't so much. It was all these super synergistic cards. It felt like now if you have to do a 5-drop, like something like a Phyrexian Plague Road would be so awful. Like a 4/4 for 5 mana that has a tap ability, but it does have that static ability of sacrificing a creature. That is just like 5-drops need to win the game now. They need to outright take over the board state and finish off the game within a few turns, or otherwise control decks will just beat everything at that point. And it's like the power creep has kind of caused that, where games are a lot less back and forth. They're a lot more like just slamming powerful cards rather than trying to, chess maneuver your way through a situation. And I don't know, I'm just really, really sad with that. I'm hoping that somehow, and I don't foresee it. That's the problem. That's why I'm stuck in kind of this nostalgic loop here, is I don't see Wizards of the Coast with their kind of salivation for profits, for like turning their game into, more of a profit driven rather than game driven, which of course that's their company. They should be, striving for that. But however, they need to do a power reset. They have to, if we're going to get back to, playing these type of Magic. But when we have like Dominaria United that can't even sell with Shieldreds, with, $80 Shieldreds, because they've trained the consumer to want just more and more and more and more and more. It's like, they have to build a roller coaster that's a story higher every set to keep everyone entertained with that. We're turning these adrenaline junkies with these, like I said, the wall of text cards. And it just really makes me nostalgic for this Oversold Cemetery. So that's kind of my Throwback Thursday memory of this card. It's funny how this kind of thought came from just opening up a pack of Wilds of Eldraine, cracking open this card and seeing this beauty. I love the new artwork, by the way. This artwork too just is really, I love this comical kind of fantasy artwork. It really hits home with me. I think my favorite artwork is still Ancient Tomb, the OG Ancient Tomb, just kind of a comical fantasy thing. Miss that artwork where everything gets so digitized. Is that a word, digitized? But this one is just a super one here. Super cool looking card. Like the borders on it too. But Oversold Cemetery, these type of cards are what really got the brewer gears turning, or whatever parable or phrase you want to say that goes well with this. And again, I'm going to keep doing these Throwback Thursdays until we can kind of get that, like I said, my nostalgia curse or hump or whatever's bothering me right now, why I can't brew decks or why it's so hard for me to play Magic the Gathering. I do need to make some videos though. I am obligated to play in some events as a creator over here for the Magic Summit. So I'll have to take a look at these events and see what I'm going to play in. But I know I do need to build a commander deck to play with fans here. So if you are coming to this Magic Summit on October 26th through 29th in Salt Lake City, I'd be more than happy to play a game with you or sit down and chat. As I see, I don't think, like, this is how out of touch I am. I have no clue. I have no clue who this person is, no clue who this person is, no clue. Oh, I know who Anson Maddox is. That's an old school artist. That's pretty cool, though. But the vast majority of these people, I've actually played Magic with Brandon Sanderson at another convention that we were both invited to when I know Brian Kimbler. Okay, I know Dan Fraser. Okay, maybe I know some of these people. But the vast majority of these new ones, I have not a clue who any of them are. I guess John Finkel. Okay, maybe they have a lot of old school people in here as well. Lots of artists. But as far as the content creators, yeah, I don't know who any of these are. I don't know who this person is. Nope. I don't know who any of them are. So I guess you always will find that day where you've just kind of outgrown your hobby or outgrown like your relevancy. But anyway, we'll see. We'll see where this path takes me. I enjoy really going back to these memories and going over them. And I guess in your comment section is, what's your favorite Rogue Deck memory? How long have you been with the channel? Do you remember like the good old Epic Experiment days? And that's like my huge roots. We'll have to do Epic Experiment for another Throwback Thursday. I'm not going to spoil it here because I have a lot to talk about for the good old RDB games. So yeah, it's kind of sad to see where this channel's gone, but I'm in a good place. So don't feel sad for me. This is still, like I said, it's one of those times looking back nostalgic. I feel like a retired football player looking back at their, their stomping days of, playing in championships and whatnot and being like, wow, where is the time gone? I remember it feels like yesterday when I was brewing decks and, really, really looking for the next big thing and being so excited when like LSV played my deck on, I remember he showcased one of my decks. Again, that's another memory I'm not going to spoil. I'll have to do those memories for other Throwback Thursdays. But I will commit to this, hold me to it, that Throwback Thursdays, I hope you enjoyed this one. I have lots of memories to go over. And again, give me some ideas for what are your favorite Rogue Deck Builder memories, and what do you want to see for me to revitalize kind of my love for this game, revitalize this channel. I can't commit to brewing decks. I can't even do a top 10. It's just, I don't know. I don't know what it is, but as a creative personality, you can't force it. If you do try to force it, it just turns into mush. So anyway, hope you understand. If you want us to keep in contact with me, I am over at the Gone Rogue Game channels doing rant videos all the time, as well as just shooting the breeze and occasionally on the Rogue Market channel talking about the finance aspect of Magic the Gathering and other stuff. So hope you enjoyed this video. Kevin with Rogue Deck Builder, formerly known as Rogue Deck Builder, currently known as Rogue Deck Builder, maybe futurely known as Rogue Deck Builder. Thanks for watching.